Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are previewing Week 11 in college football. We're talking right now with Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. Takes a whole ton of games every week. Tough games I asked him to take. He's going to cover Georgia, Kentucky right now. Joe, thanks for being back with us.
Thank you, Peter.
All right, Georgia, Kentucky, before we get your analysis on this one, another tough game, tough line, another game that I think is just going to be a complete pass for me. Tell us how things are going at your website this year in college and NFL.
No, another clockwork winning year from Joe Duffy's picks. Again, going back to the NFL preseason, thanks to all those people that jumped on board early on. You've been making a ton of money. NFL is where we've especially been sizzling hot. I know a lot of people weren't concerned who's hot. 13-6 in the NFL. Quite a few wise guy winners along the way. Big weekend in store at OffshoreInsiders.com.
All right, Joe. Well, look, Georgia, Kentucky. Again, to all of our viewers, this is another game that's probably going to pass for me. Lots of lines on the board, college football, that I'm thinking are pretty good, that I have some leans on. I'm sure you're feeling the same way. But Joe takes whatever games I ask him to take. Right now, Kentucky is a 10-point home underdog. That's down from 11 totals all over the board right now that I'm seeing at SBRodds.com. I'm seeing 58, 58.5, 59, and 59.5, all equally widely available. That'll even out, but as of right now, that's the range of totals. Georgia, of course, got popped by Florida last week. That was a sharp play. Florida, a lot of sharps are on that one. They lost straight up, and now they're a double-digit favorite, against a decent Kentucky team that has been, kind of game as a big underdog in the SEC this year. But they also, this is Georgia's second game off of bye. Kentucky's now played 6 weeks in a row. This is going to be their seventh game off of bye. So the question is, is Georgia going to bounce back off the loss and be pissed? And if so, is Kentucky, do they have the talent to keep up with them within single digits? I'm not exactly sure. Like I said, going to be a pass for me as of right now. What do you like here, Joe?
Yeah, no, Peter, and this is one where, like I say, I tell everybody up front if it's going to be a premium play, if I know for 100% certainty it is. We've already released Georgia's premium play, so everybody here is getting a free premium play. And, in the past couple years, because like I said, not even just my influence, but the fact that I'm using some of these same metrics as some of the big syndicates. I've been releasing my plays a little bit earlier, and especially when some of our time-tested metrics jump out. I've got some computer software that can test it. But here, it's where we had to adjust. I think I talked to you a couple times at the beginning of the year where I said that my bubble burst theory, especially when it comes to the SEC, is going to apply as much to a team off of their second loss. Look, this time last week, Georgia was one of the favorites, and I think a couple sports books had them as the favorites to win the national title. Then, as you said, just a completely disheartening loss in their big rivalry against Florida, and they started to turn that series around. So this is such a disheartening loss, and there's no realistic chance for Georgia to play their way back into the national title hunt. I think it's just such a tough game to bounce back from. Kentucky, very young team. Remember, Kentucky's had some good recruiting classes each of the last 2 years. What do we say about young teams? This is true in college basketball and college football. A, they get better as the year goes on. B, they're generally better at home than on the road. Well, now they're playing at home. Remember, Kentucky, voila, the home team is 8-1 straight up and 7-2 against the spread in their games. Their only home straight up loss was to Mississippi State, which just so happens to be the number one team in the country. And if you watch that game, they pulled to within 7 late. And then they kind of had that fluke play where Mississippi State returned the onside kick for a touchdown. So you could say that their game against Mississippi State was a lot more competitive. They've been darn good at home this year. And again, I've said, the last 5-6 years, been exploiting spots better than ever before. Great spot for Kentucky. Kentucky is not only a play, but it's a premium play.
Wow, premium play on Kentucky. All right, so you're just basically not expecting a bounce back from Georgia at all. I mean, at one point they were looking like, just an absolutely dominant team where, if they were, this kind of a favorite against any other mediocre team, SEC or not, you think that's the kind of team that I want to be betting on, right?
Yeah, well, no, the higher they go, the further they fall. Georgia's defense looks like they were starting to finally turn the corner under their third defensive coordinator, and I think 3 years, maybe it's 4 years. But then last week, they were just shredded, 418 yards rushing. Most they've given up since 1978, just to give you an idea. So, no, I do think that Georgia's really come down to earth, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Kentucky should be able to run with success, keep it close. This is one of those that maybe even take a little bit of a look at the money line.
All right, well, I stand corrected. This is not a coin flip game that Joe Duffy's going to give a public opinion on. Anyway, premium play for free here at SBR Videos on Kentucky. Currently 10 is the widely available number. We'll see where that line moves. Thanks so much, Joe.
The SBR network offers free sports picks and game breakdowns, big money free betting contests year-round, a real-time Vegas-style odds monitoring service, and much more. So come see for yourself. To stay updated on SBR news and promotions, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+, and do be sure to subscribe to the Sportsbook Review YouTube channel to catch all our daily sports shows.